In this video, I'm going to show you how to generate random data in Excel, and we'll also look at a few use cases where that is extremely useful. There are many reasons why you may need random data in Excel. You may be working on an analysis or a macro or some form of a template where you need some dummy data to fill in the blanks while you prepare the structure of your file or while you write your macros. You might also use dummy data to fill out a template that you want to share across your organization or with clients. A lot of times you may need random data for different testing purposes or even for financial modeling. For example, if you're running Monte Carlo simulations, you may need randomized data to stress test your scenarios. In fact, there are a lot of use cases where being able to generate truly detailed random data sets can be very useful. So let's open Excel and take a look at how we can do that.
For example, here I have a list of invoices that I have to generate, either for a tutorial or to test a macro or whatever. We can use Excel's random numbers to do that. So for example, I'm gonna start with the items here to decide. Just gonna say sequence 5, say we're gonna have 5 items. Then I'm gonna say item 1 and copy that down. I need to be more creative here. And for the price, I'm gonna say rand between. I want them to be between, let's say, $40 and $60. So I'm gonna say 4,000 and 6,000. I'm gonna divide it over 100. And this should make sure that it's a price between 40 and 60. Control down to copy it down. Now I have my items, and here the invoice number. Again, I'm gonna say I want a sequence, and here we want 20 rows, 1 column. We're gonna start at like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, and the step would be 1. So I think that's too many zeros there, but then for the date, I'm gonna say 1/1/25 up here. And I'm just gonna say that I want this to be this date plus rand between, let's say 25 days. That way it keeps adding on top of that. And just here, I'm gonna move that so that it's always a few days after the previous invoice. Control D to copy that down. Then for a client ID, we can just have this equal to rand between, let's say 4,000 and 9,000. We can do the same as with the items and generate the clients, but one example with the items to the side should be enough. Copy that down, and then for the item, just gonna say VLOOKUP round between 1 and 5. So I'm gonna be looking up this table over here based on a random number between 1 and 5, comma, grab that, fix it with F4, and then say that I want the third column, actually the second column, the item, 0 to make sure that it's an exact match. Copy that down, and we have our items. Are there any ones here? Let's press F9 to recalculate a few times. And yes, I can see ones here, so it's inclusive of the numbers that I listed in round between. Then for the price, we can simply VLOOKUP it by the item name, or otherwise we can have the item ID in a column and then VLOOKUP the item name and the price like that. Fix that with F4. We want the second column, and now I have the price. Let's see for item 3, 59.67. Yep, let's format those just a little bit. And then the volume, this will be rand between 1 and 5. The amount will be the price multiplied by the volume. Copy that down. And then for the discount, I want this to be rand between 0 and 100, and then divide this over 1,000 till we get a percentage. Copy that down, format it as a percentage, and then the net amount will be 1 minus the discount multiplied by the amount. And this is how you can generate random invoice data using Excel's built-in random function. It takes a bit more time, but potentially if you add a few more items and also add a list of clients with IDs, you can easily extend this to thousands of lines. Another way that we can use random functions is to generate unique IDs. For example, here I have some sales data by salesperson, but there's no unique ID. So if we want to do sampling on this population, there's no easy way to do it. So what we can do is go as simple as do a sequence, and in the sequence do count A and grab the whole population in it. And this is just gonna add a unique ID. However, if you want, you can go fancier. We can say that we want this to be a concatenation of, let's say, sale ID, and then concatenate that with the text formula. I'm gonna put the sequence as the text, and our format will be 4 zeros to make sure that they all have 4 digits. And now we get our unique ID. Another way to use random numbers in Excel is, for example, generating license keys. For example, earlier this year, we were launching a product on AppSumo, and there you have to provide your own license keys. We wanted to do that in random batches. So I'm just going to start with round between 1 and 5, and those should be my batches. And the reason for that is that we wanted, when we are rolling updates and stuff like that, to do that by batch number. Then for source, we have AppSumo. Then we can add a sequence, for example, 50, 1 column. I'm going to start from some random number so that people don't see that their license key is number 1. And the step will be 1. Then my sequence formatted here, I want to change the format. I'll say text, reference the sequence, and then add this format with the dashes. This makes it a bit easier to read if we ever have to. And then the overall license key would be a simple concatenation of batch, source, and I'm actually going to add dashes here. After the dash, it's going to be the source, and at the end, my formatted sequence. And this is how we generated our license. All that's left is to copy that down, this one and this one as well. That way we have our random looking license keys, and they're spread in random batches that we can then use to randomly assign who gets updates first. Another use case for the random functions in Excel is, for example, here we have this survey data with the question, the response, and the respondent. And you see that all the questions and responses for a single respondent are next to each other, which may cause some bias. If, let's say, we strongly disagree with the response here, then we may be biased towards this respondent in the next questions. We can perhaps hide the respondent column, but still knowing that questions are clumped together would probably cause bias. So what we can do is use a random number, and we don't even need to round between. We can just do round, and it's going to give us a random number between 0 and 1. Copy that to the bottom. And now all we have to do is Alt-AT to add a filter, and we can just sort them smallest to largest or largest to smallest. And you see that immediately the numbers don't appear sorted, even though we just sorted them. And the reason for that is, and you probably noticed in the previous examples, that every time we do an operation in Excel, all the random formulas recalculate. So if you want to keep the values the same, what we can do is copy and then paste as values. Now we can sort that and it's all good. We can hide the respondent, and that should eliminate most of the bias. I also want to show you another way to generate random invoice data using my Excel add-in, Minty Tools for Excel, and it's a random values generation tool. So for the invoice number, we can grab a selection and add a whole number between 1 through 9 and 9 nines. Fill the selected range, and we get random numbers for an invoice. Then for a date, we're going to change that to 24. And let's go ahead with this range as it's wide enough. And it's going to fill the range with dates. Then for a client ID, I can do the whole number again. And for example, here we can go from 4,000 to 6,000. I'm going to go ahead and copy my items from the first example, put them here. And then for an item, I can just do the IDs here. It's going to be much easier. going to generate a whole number between 1 and 5. And now I can simply VLOOK up my price based on this item ID, fix it with F4, and here we have it. Then for volume, we can do, let's say, 2 to 58. Fill that. The amount would be the same, price multiplied by volume. Move that a bit to the side and copy that down. For the discount, I'm going to generate a percentage from 0 to 10%. And our net amount would be 1 minus the discount multiplied by the amount. I'm going to copy that down. And you see here that we get the same issue, that the price to the side gets recalculated every time we do an operation. So we can generate a decimal number between, let's say, 20 and 50 and fill this. And that way I can work with my random numbers without the whole table recalculate. So for example, I can grab the item IDs, do a whole number between 1 and 5, and regenerate that as many times as I want until I see a distribution that I like. And that way I know that as soon as I start changing something else, those item IDs won't change again and again. And that's the main benefit over using the Excel functions. And it also makes it a bit easier because you don't have to think about how to do a percentage, how to do a date and stuff like that. You can do all those, and also a Boolean value, and Booleans are quite useful if you do, let's say, Monte Carlo simulations. For example, you may have different assumptions that should be either true or false for every single run of your simulation. So you can generate a bunch of those and then use them for your simulation.
As you see, being able to generate those random data sets with dummy data can be very helpful in a lot of situations. And now that you know how to generate random data, I want to show you how to select random samples from a larger population so you can easily select random items when doing financial reviews. And I'm going to do that in this video up here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in this video.